Hi, everybody, and welcome to Tim and Joel Call It in the Ring. It's midnight. I don't know. I was trying to do the biggie thing, but I went real weird with it, real wrong. So here we are. Welcome to Tim and Joel Call It in the Ring. Midnight. Sunday.
My biggest fear was doing this show at midnight and seeing this chat fill up and forcing us to have to do this more often, Tim. And it's here, and it's happening, and I'm scared. Hello, friends. This is the After Dark Tim and Joel Call It in the Ring. It is technically Monday. We are live at midnight.
Oh, I said Sunday. Yeah, it is Monday as of now.
The reason, I mean, it's still Sunday for some of our West Coast friends.
I had to put the well, yeah, I guess for those people and their coasts.
Listen, if you're left coast, west coast, east coast, southern coast, I don't care where you are, drop a like on the video if you're watching us here on YouTube. If you are listening to us after the fact because you went to bed like a regular human being, if you're listening to us in audio form, wherever you get your podcasts, drop us a 5-star review, because I can't tell you how much that's going to help in getting our words out there into your friends' ears or to new friends. So let's get to that. Tim, we have a lot to talk about today.
Caleb, take me with you. I'll stop watching.
It's been a long weekend, and I'm not talking in duration. I'm talking in news, in conversation, in discourse. I took some time off of Twitter. I know you did as well, Tim.
Yeah, I wasn't on. I was in a pool.
It's frustrating because on Friday night, in the middle of SmackDown, I get a DM saying releases are coming with a message of who they are.
Big news ahead.
And I'm like, are you bloody serious? And so I start prepping my own tweets because I was waiting for Sean to break the news, because I'm not that person. I don't break news. I talk about it. And then Sean finally started firing off the releases, and I did my thing. And so everyone who knows by now that NXT had a ton of releases. Start from the bottom and move our way up. Desmond Troy,
Who's
Giant
that?
Sanjir.
No. What are we going to do? What do you want to talk about them as we go? Or you want to blast through the releases and then...
Let me give you all the names, and then we'll go one by one.
Love it. Let's
do it.
Desmond
Troy. So Desmond Troy, Giant Zangier, Usher Hale, Jake Atlas, Zachariah Smith, Stephon Smith, no relation, Kona Reeves, Ari Sterling, Bobby Fish, Mercedes Martinez, Leon Ruff, Tyler Rust, Bronson Reed. Obviously, the last 4 or 5, the most shocking of the bunch. Oh, let's go one by one. Desmond Troy.
So he's been on TV before, right? I've seen him on NXT recently. Yes, that's what I thought.
Desmond Troy was featured in a few of the Dusty Cups. He was one of the teams that was taken out to be replaced. So that was one of his appearances. He was also formerly known as Denzel Desjardins, which was his real name. Changed his name to Desmond Troy for WWE.
Yeah, I vaguely recall talking about, like, why is he Desmond Troy when he's got a name that good, and then going, oh, because WWE wants to own everything.
And we will talk about that in a few minutes. His last appearance was on the July 2nd episode of 205 Live. I'm getting this, by the way, from our friend Jeremy Lambert over at Fightful. This was the article he wrote with just the releases and their last appearances. So that's Desmond Troy. Giant Zangier, most people don't know. And
is he a giant? Is he a big man?
He's a large man.
Makes
he is
sense.
Indian. He was on the Superstar Spectacle. He was viewed as one of the Great Khali's newest, biggest big men. I guess it just wasn't in the cards for Zangier.
I don't think, like, all of their break into the Indian market just didn't happen. Like, it seemed like they were going to try that, and then I guess it didn't test well, which would be a massive shock to me. I think they just bungled whatever their plan was, if they even had a plan.
Yes. And I also think that there are certain things that got out of the way and screwed up their plans, things that were out of their control, such as a global pandemic.
Whatever. You can still build it. I don't know. They have $1 billion and people, you can hire people in India.
Yes. I have a feeling it wasn't worth it for them to go out and start an entire product, especially in the middle of a pandemic where they couldn't really keep up on it. UK is the only thing that's happening abroad where they have rigged up a system to keep track of it live as it's recorded.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Asher Hale was signed in WWE 6 months ago, like
Yeah.
recently. He was on the July 30th episode of 205 Live. So we're talking last week. He's gone.
I mean, they're still running the show too, which is the weirdest thing because like they have to. I feel like they're contractually obligated to produce 205 Live, and like there's no one to wrestle on it.
Now, what's really interesting and funny to a point is that of the last two sets of releases, there were people who were wrestling on that night or that weekend's episode of 205 Live.
So,
And it happened again. 50% of the releases this time around were on 205 Live literally that night, like less than an hour away.
They should all just follow what's his name's lead and just tweet out, "I guess this one's a loser leaves town match."
So actually,
And also, "I guess this one's a winner leaves town match."
Alex Zane, who did have a match on 205 Live, he had a video of himself on TV on 205, and then and he pans over to his face, and he's like very awkward. So some of them are taking it in stride. Let's face it. Like sometimes you just gotta laugh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna skip over Jake Atlas for a second because I have more to say about him.
So
Zachariah Smith is a pro baller. He came in. He was just training. Never had a match on TV. Didn't really make that much of an impact, or at least it wasn't his time. He's gone. Yeah. Okay, big man as well. Stephon Smith is a referee.
That was weird. That one was like, okay, sure.
They cut Jake Clemens last time as well. He's another referee. But again, like it's the referee. Listen, referees they're prone to be cut as well. That's just the reality of it. Conan Reeves he was the longest standing NXT signee. 2014 is when Conan Reeves was signed. He hadn't wrestled since 2020 February. And he was injured as well, so he's out. But now he's cleared. Either way.
Oh, okay. So they waited for him to get healthy, and then see ya.
I mean, listen, there's good and bad to that. On the one side, they covered his rehab, or at least covered his get better. And they said, "Forget you, you're gone." Ari Sterling, regularly featured on 205 Live.
Yeah.
He faced Kushida. That's the Alex Zane. That's what I was talking about. The story. Bobby Fish. Fish was kind of going down.
Yeah, after UE, they're like, what are they going to do? I guess.
Fish is a conversation about what NXT might look like in the future. You got a guy who is in his 40s, has been injury prone as well. It's been a lot for Bobby Fish, and I just don't think that NXT was where they wanted him, and I don't even think they had plans for him to move anywhere else.
No.
So that was Bobby Fish. Mercedes Martinez,
she got kicked right out of existence, kayfabe.
That's so frustrating.
Now Xia Li has murdered a person. That's kayfabe true. That's what's going on. She's got straight up murder kicks. Be afraid. Although she then immediately lost, but whatever.
I love Mercedes Martinez as a human being. I love Mercedes Martinez as a wrestler. I am so upset to see her go, but that's just the personal side. I will return to what I just said. She is a woman who is in her 40s. Unfortunately, that means in the NXT world that they're quote unquote trying to remake. Gone. Like it's not. She's not young enough, which is bullshit. I really think she's a player coach. She's someone who should be there. She's someone who should be teaching the next crop of women how to wrestle.
Who are the women back there who are training?
I think Sarah Amato is still there. There are a few there, but it's also like the women are taught by the men as well.
I know, and it just seems like predominantly that's the case. Whereas maybe we should have a healthy mix, but
100%.
You know,
she is someone, and I said this on Twitter. I do not necessarily use the line so and so should go to AEW. I do not use this often. The last time I used it was with Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
I'm using it here with Mercedes Martinez because she is perfect for a women's division that is currently in need of a fix.
Needs help. Yeah.
And she would be excellent. That's the player coach you need. She deserves that opportunity if she chooses to accept it.
Providing she recovers well from what I assume was a concussion.
she did get rocked. I'm sorry. Again, love Mercedes, but you will watch that footage for the rest of your life and be like, oh damn.
Zaya's gonna watch Alistair from Wednesday. You know, just get there. Get to that level, please.
Learn how to pull the kicks. I just, when that happened, I was like, man, that's what happens when you tell Triple H that you want to participate in a kickboxing competition. Leon Ruff was released, the former NXT North American champion.
Yeah, my God. And like, here's the, yeah, he had that push, and we expressed this concern that they wouldn't know what to do with him after that feud with Swerve, and here we are. Like, very, very talented. One of the best a salesman, I guess. Like, anyway, he's damn good at selling stuff, and now he's not part of the product no more.
You go back to how he got over. He got over by getting his shit kicked off by Aleister Black. He got a contract out of that, and he got himself over in that Damian Priest, Johnny Gargano storyline. He inserted himself and found himself a part of it. And then he also helped Swerve. Yeah. He helped Swerve get over.
Definitely, 100% he did. And it's for us. Here's your reward.
Yeah, and he's getting married very shortly to Aja, who is one of the other NXT refs.
But so the non-release one, yeah.
Well, they're not gonna release her because there are optics involved. It's garbage. I like her. Again, I have nothing negative to say about her. I just think they're not going to release her. They touted her already as the first female black referee that they ever hired, and they're not going to go back on that. And that's the cost of their business. So there you go. Bronson Reed is
the biggest shock out of all of...
I missed Tyler Rust. We'll get to Bronson Reed. Let's go back. Tyler Rust.
All right. Second biggest shock of all.
Second biggest shock because of the Diamond Mine. That weeks ago, everyone was told Diamond Mine is going to be the thing. Diamond Mine is going to be this huge new entity that puts a focus on the cruiserweight divisions. And of course, then everyone in the cruiserweight division.
They decimate the cruiserweight division, and then they decimate the Diamond Mine.
When they never introduced Hideki Suzuki by name, and it's been 4 weeks, I asked Sean, I was like, what's the deal? And they're like, they don't know what they're doing anymore with it. They don't. And it's clear. They're still not naming Hideki Suzuki. Therefore, whatever plans they had, gone. Absolutely insane. And again, for Malcolm Bivens, who has been trying to find his way through this developmental system as a manager, he gets screwed. But now they're putting him more with Roddy, and I hope that that's where it goes. Rust will be fine. He will land on his
I don't
feet.
really care about that. Like, I don't care about Roderick Strong and Malcolm Bivens, because Malcolm Bivens has been miscellaneously attached to whoever for the last little while, and they won't let him get anything going. So like, I don't care that much of it. Like, Roderick Strong is excellent, but like, coming right out of the UE, quitting NXT, starting this thing, like, it's too much whiplash. I just can't get it. I can't get behind it. I don't.
Yeah. In the chat, Evan's asking if Brody Lee would do a BT skit firing John Silver for being too short and over 30 if he was still around.
They would. It would be so funny. Oh.
It would be absolutely hilarious and absolutely apropos.
Yeah.
It's right.
Dig, twist that knife. These people are awful.
Bronson Reed. The man had been working dark matches before SmackDown. He is a former North American champion. He just put over Adam Cole a couple weeks ago on NXT TV. Absurd.
It makes no sense. Like, he's equivalent to Keith Lee in talent, and like,
yes,
now one gets to stay and the other is departed, and I don't understand it. It makes no sense. Like,
and Reed is seen as a very upbeat, positive individual who has a lot going for him. The former Jonah Rock was a damn stalwart. Like, the man knew what he was doing.
They workshopped his entrance and his video package, and it was very good. Like,
made no sense. Did not make sense. So with that, we're gonna go to Jake Atlas.
Yeah.
But I'm first gonna say Bronson Reed and Jake Atlas are almost definitely going to be at PWG 3 Mendis. That is their next big show. And they were big PWG guys. And then someone else pointed out another one who could do it. But those are a ton of my guys. Tyler Rust back to ROH is a possibility. Maybe go to MLW. Maybe work both. It's up to him. Who else we got here that can go back? Bobby Fish could go back to Ring of Honor. He had a really good singles run towards the end of his time there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Jake Atlas. We brought up a few weeks ago about Jake Atlas and his use on WWE TV during Pride Month.
Yep.
They brought
Month's over. The branding has been reverted.
They wanted to do something. They wanted to it's something in their business, something changed in WWE because they wanted to make Jake Atlas the big, I don't want to say poster boy because that sounds so dirty, but they really wanted to make it a point to show that he is the first male openly gay WWE superstar.
Yeah.
And then they never did it. They never said that he was gay. They just kind of went to the line and they never stepped over it. And that always drove me nuts.
It pisses me off because he's so talented. Like,
Yes.
he was a great wrestler. That rope DDT thing was amazing, and it could have been like the best. They could have popped him on at any point. He had 3 different looks and styles that all worked, and they just didn't use any of it. And it doesn't make any sense other than just being completely out of touch. Like,
yep. They even called it he calls it the Rainbow DDT, and they changed it. And
excellent name, excellent move. That he was hitting. He hit that consistently, and that's so there's something to be said for that, pulling off that type of none of the main wrestler or main roster stars are hitting moves that are that like difficult to do reliably. So I don't know.
What frustrated me, just like Mercedes Martinez, they did the same thing to her. They brought her in at the start of Pride Month, gave them a W, didn't show them again until the end of Pride Month, where they literally teamed them up
in a very, very awkwardly written promo,
and gave them an L. I can only laugh because it's so absolutely frustrating to see the way they treat some of the wrestlers.
It's dumb. It's foolish. And anyway, like out of that group, I really want to see Bronson and Jake Atlas just like, and Mercedes just find somewhere and excel because God.
Me too. So, okay. Earlier today, there was a thread recapping the Wrestling Observer Radio.
Okay. Yeah.
I gave Dave shit on Friday because he tweeted out about how the Amalie Center in Florida before SmackDown tweeted out about the whole no photos, no videos.
Yeah,
and he started going off, and I had to be like, that's not a thing. For those who are wondering, that's a thing in every single sport, every single concert, every event you'll ever go to in an arena has a policy like that, and nobody enforces it.
Unless you go to a Tool concert, who
yes,
they are,
or you go to a Dave Chappelle.
Aggressive. Yeah,
there are certain people who do 100% enforcement. Yeah. WWE was never one of them. He went absolutely apeshit.
It only works in their favor. They just promoted their 80 millionth like YouTube subscriber. They want people on social media plugging their stuff, but
100%. So with that, let's go. This was a bit of a recap here. So it was called the bleakest possible NXT news by the guy. This is Trevor Dane.
Okay. Yeah. So as a preference, this is all going to be shocking to me because like I saw, I assume this ties into the 30 under 30 and tall crap. Like I have no idea what any of that is referring to because I could not find anything written, and I'm not going to listen to anything. So
right. So before we move forward, I am going to remind everyone, if you're watching on YouTube, we actually have a Discord channel. Yeah. And our Discord channel is very active. And if you're here and this is your first time, come and join us there. Now, Dave says Triple H and HBK did not pick the NXT cuts, which is true.
That is in no way surprised. Given how the TV programming was working, I would be surprised if they did.
Yes. Vince, Bruce Pritchard, and Johnny Laurinaitis did. Again, that's true. I did hear that as well. NXT lost the war, and they're going to change back towards an older style of development. Big guys, young guys. Moving over, Dave says there are divisive opinions about wrestling among the people in WWE, and this is who has Vince's ear this week. That's what it's all about, which we've talked about. They're going back to pre-fighting AEW. So before AEW existed, this is what they want to go back. The pre-let's out indie the indies, that's in quotes, NXT. And then Dave says the Curtis Axel era of NXT. I don't know if you watched
This is before I was still not watching any of it except maybe WrestleMania.
This was early 2010s when NXT used to be a variety show. It was Vince McMahon's cup of tea. It would put the rookies on, the new guys. Titus O'Neil made his name through that. They would sometimes pair them with pros. They would have different challenges and also matches and promos. And here's the thing. I went back today and I watched some of it, and Some of it's not bad. Some of it's hokey as hell, but it never got off the ground. It wasn't what wrestling fans wanted.
I doesn't sound like anything I'm interested in.
No, I had a good few laughs because it was like a random like half hour or an hour show, and it was mostly recap packages. But when they did the in-ring or in the arena stuff, I was like, okay, some of this is funny. We got like the Titus flopping beer keg gimmick, like where they had to carry a beer keg around the ring, and it was a competition to do who can do it the fastest. And when Titus picked it up, he tripped and fell. That was a thing.
God, he fell a lot. Okay.
Yes, and yeah, like Daniel Bryan was mentored by The Miz when he was on NXT.
Hilarious. Okay.
Yes. So continuing on with the Dave stuff. Dave was given exact wording, and he doesn't say from who, but it seems like a company source or a memo, and he reads it off. And in quotes, he says, "No more midgets. No one starting in their 30s. They want people who can be box office attractions and main characters." End quote.
You have that. You have had that regardless of age, regardless of size. Like, I'm tired of the size thing because it's just Vince McMahon's fetish. Like, legit Layla Hirsch is just independently, randomly over for AEW, and she is very short. So is John Silver. Like, this is nonsense. John Silver's doing some of the most interesting, like, in-ring stuff because he's doing power moves as a dude who's, like, 5'3". Like, that's such nonsense. It's one old man's fetish.
Titus O'Neil's pro in his year of NXT was Hornswoggle. Quote, "No more midgets." That's absolute disgusting choice of words to begin with.
Delightful.
Yeah, not something you want. That is 20. It says here, we're turning the clocks back 20 years. That's Trevor's interpretation, and I agree. It's absolutely, if that's the literal wording, that is over the top. That cannot be okay. I understand the idea of no one starting in their 30s. I get that.
Sure, if it is truly a developmental thing, once again, and I've said this a bunch of times, they are athletes in like a big, like the better part of their work is as an athlete, not as like an actor. So starting in your 30s.
One problem with that, they keep cutting people who are in their early 20s too.
Yep, exactly. Like none of that makes sense. You don't cut Jake Atlas then. Oh, they're not tall. Yes, this thing that doesn't matter a goddamn bit.
Vince has been running on this for ever, and that's the airport test. Are you familiar with the airport test? Have you heard it in conversation? The airport test is very simple. If I'm walking through the airport and I am a large gentleman or I'm someone who sticks out, that's what Vince wants. So Vince wants that person that while you're walking through the airport, you are immediately noticed.
Yeah, I don't like, that's the dumbest thing. Like, you're just go start a basketball team, like, because otherwise it sounds like he's trying to assemble a freak show rather than like, anyway,
it's a circus, pal. Dave notes that there will always be exceptions to the rule, like how WWE still wants to keep Adam Cole, who is in fact not tall
at all. I think he's the same height as me. Like,
Cole, who by the way was at SmackDown on Friday meeting with Vince McMahon, in a meeting that apparently went very well. And when I was asked about it, I flat out said the Jedi Master strikes again. I really do think Adam Cole wants to stay. I've told you this on the air.
Yeah, very charming. He can get whatever he wants. Like,
I think with Adam Cole, he sees the value in being in WWE versus being in AEW. He can build his brand in WWE further, especially if he gets the terms and the conditions that he wants. He's still young. He's still like available. So Adam Cole, I do think Adam Cole stays. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they want him on the main roster, 100%. They've been coming up with storylines and ideas. That's part of the push. That's what they want. So Dave, he says, quote, "Kind of the line has been, when they get to NXT, we have to teach them not to do the indie style. And then when they come to the main roster, we have to teach them not to work the NXT style." So there has been a lack of communication throughout this entire process. And we've seen that NXT going over to the main roster time and again.
Yeah,
we've seen people
watch
called
the
up.
Viking Raiders go from being amazing to being very sterile and hurting themselves. Like,
yeah, he's got. It doesn't shock me that there's been a miscommunication with NXT and the expectations that come from it.
Yeah, I mean, it was ludicrous to be calling it a developmental territory at some point because it was the best product they had produced. And, like, turning it into a third brand also doesn't work because it's so disconnected from the rest of the programming.
On top of it, let's face it, when NXT was at its best, they were kind of in talent hoarding mode. They were kind of trying to do that, like it said, out indie the indies. They were trying to be the destination for the fans that would inevitably move over to AEW.
I mean, it also just seems weird to set that as a goal. Like, they don't... Were they touring very heavily with NXT before this?
NXT, what do you mean? Is it nationally?
Yeah.
So yes and no. NXT did tour nationally in the like before pandemic. Not extensively. They would
it was
kind of
mostly
tack
Florida
it on.
based, wasn't it? Like in their...
They had an A and a B team. The
Okay.
B team was the Florida loop. That was the coconut loop. The A team were the ones that would do mini tours here and there in different cities. But with the NXT style, when they toured, they were given accommodations. They were given tour buses. They traveled in their tracksuits. They were
better than all of the people on the roster.
Well, but that's the thing. WWE, I think the whole point of NXT was to kind of it wasn't about the wrestling. It should have been acclimating them for what road life really is. I'm not saying go and tell these people we're going to put you on the bus to get you there, but then you're going to get to every city afterwards. But they got to give them those reps to get them. And then just doing the coconut loop was stupid. That's a 3-hour drive there and back, whatever. Maybe we'll give you a hotel for the night. Dave thinks we haven't seen the last of the cuts.
No, I'd be
That's
surprised too. Yeah, like if they're...
I was told that there's one more round coming. So
tomorrow during Raw.
Fuck no, I hope not. Doing the cuts doing the cuts during TV.
I mean, it gets it trending. It gets it trending, and then they can say WWE's trending on Twitter.
I've never been so frustrated and confused.
Yeah.
Because they literally cut the legs off their own product while it aired by cutting. And granted, listen, people in the audience at the Amalie Center weren't all like, "Oh my God," checking their phones like so-and-so just tweeted. No, they're not. Very few people were.
They're watching their dull SmackDown episode that they paid
pretty much
too much for.
We'll talk about SmackDown a little bit if we don't do 2 hours.
Take forever doing this.
Release
yeah.
Shit. Man, and so we get later on PW Insider talking about an internal focus on changing the NXT brand, a new logo, new lighting, focus on younger talents. We just talked about that, and different format to the TV show. Now, first of all, a new set, new lighting. They just did this a year ago, June 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Think what you will about the rebranding, because personally, I think it's shit. Like this whole leather daddy, biker NXT with the big X and the Raven.
It really
and the
smacks
chains.
of Triple H, I'll tell you that much.
It really does. It made no sense. It really never made sense to me why they did that. But yeah, I don't know what this is the same. It's the same thing that happens with they're going back on the road. They're going to give you their best product. All the things that WWE continues to promise and underdeliver.
I'm just like, NXT was the only thing I was regularly enjoying. Even as people said it fell off lately, I enjoyed the in-ring much more than anything I watch on WWE's like main roster.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I was also a big NXT fan. I loved when we were doing the show from 7 to 8 on Tuesdays, and then we would sit and watch NXT. Like, it was entertaining. We could actually sit and like chat and watch the show and not hate it.
Yeah.
I'm being asked about NXT being moved to Peacock exclusively when the deal is up. They've re-signed with USA.
USA? But they were on Sci-Fi the other night, which is bad.
That's just because
It's
the
just a
USA
one-off.
Olympics. Yeah, it was the Olympics thing
okay.
for 2
Yeah,
weeks. So the reason they've re-signed with USA. The deal is undisclosed, but for all intents and purposes, Christina Salin, who is the CFO, said that the deal will not change any valuation on the company. Like all money is expected to be made as is. So, but at the same time, it brought up questions. How much is the NXT deal worth for USA? And it seems like it's not worth nearly as much as, say, AEW's new deal with TNT, Warner Media, and TBS.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can already tell. I feel like AEW is drawing better advertisers.
So again, we go to the left hand and the right hand. NXT is a developmental talent, as a developmental territory, shouldn't make a huge amount of money for their licensing fee or for their TV fees. NXT, Vince's idea, should. What is it?
It's unclear. Like, that's the thing. It doesn't make any sense to me because you can't call it a developmental show when like half the guys that are on there are like veterans who just aren't going to be moved up. Like, you got Ciampa, you got Gargano. I don't know how old Timothy Thatcher is. Maybe he just lives hard, but like, he doesn't look young. Like,
he's in his 30s for sure. I see Sam
like,
Shaw, who is Dexter Loomis. He is 36. That's
exactly,
true.
which is why I'm saying the second he moves to the main roster, he's going to be treated like the boogeyman, and then he'll be let go within a few years.
I listen. I've told you what they're going to do with Dexter Loomis. They're now that they're back with the crowds.
One single Elias feud, and he's gone.
That's it.
That's it. Like,
It doesn't make much sense.
It makes no sense. It's just it's a like I said, whiplash. Like, they can't keep their approach straight. Like, no business changes their strategy this frequently.
What I really want to see or hear is the takeover media call with Triple H, because after those cuts were made, the email that Triple H sent was just a thank you, period, send. He's dejected. And 20 years ago, you would never feel bad for Triple H.
Yeah,
you would hate him. You would be dancing in the streets, happy that he was down on his luck. You would be elated by the news.
He manifested the Hunter Hearst Helmsley character like into reality. He came like a spoiled little rich boy who was just acting out his tough guy fantasies because he got in with the boss's daughter. And like, yeah, not a super likable dude, but at this point, he took something, made it awesome, you know, him and a team of people, but like, he had a lot to do with the direction, and gutted on the quick whim of some guy, like his father-in-law.
He's not gonna have much to say.
Why bother? Like, at that point, why build something if you know it's just gonna be like if the odds of it getting torn to shreds are higher than 50%. Like,
yeah. So we'll go to Fightful Select for a minute, and these are the thoughts on the repeated mass cuts. And I'll read it verbatim. NXT released over a dozen wrestlers on Friday in a regular yet shocking move. Fightful has inquired about the releases to high-level WWE officials, and one of them spoke under the condition of anonymity. The official noted to us that in 2018, the company entered a talent stashing mode with what everyone assumed were honest intentions. Fightful was told that many pitches involved collecting talent, developing performance centers worldwide, and supplementing each performance center with native and international talent, and with some traveling between global territories. Within a year, the source said they could see the brakes being pumped on that and talent being parked, quote unquote parked, with an enhanced focus on going to launching NXT on USA. Once that happened, the pandemic occurred shortly after, and everything came to a screeching halt. The official expressed extreme frustration, coupled with explaining the line of thinking from a corporate aspect. Despite the outward frustration, the, quote, its business line of thinking is privately put forth within the company, even to Fightful by several. When asking the source who the releases fall on, they noted Vince McMahon can personally stop these at any time, but the calls are a collaborative effort. The source claimed that WWE releases are going to be a regular occurrence moving forward, but say that they personally expect 2021 to be an outlier with both the frequency and the level of talent. They also stated that, to their recollection, mass releases hadn't been a real discussion or concern within WWE for nearly 4 years, between the summer of 2016 and 2020. Now, let's go back. 2016 is when the brand split happened, when SmackDown Live and Raw split up. When that happened, they absolutely went into talent stashing mode. They started bringing back older talent that they had who knew how to work. I remember Shelton Benjamin was one of those people. Yep. They brought him back, and they were like, they wanted to bring people back who knew how to work TV. And then they had to build that brand. They had to build both brands, Raw and SmackDown. NXT 2018, it was the same thing, because guess what? AEW was starting. They wanted to get those people. Global localization was real. Triple H promoted that as the next developing status of NXT.
Yeah, like UK is still going.
Well, that was it. They got the UK Performance Center open under the wire. They wanted to go to India. They wanted to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
Mexico, listen, you could crack all the stupid jokes about how Mexico and Japan would fare under the WWE umbrella. It would be a pain in the ass, but they were going to do it.
Yeah.
These cuts are going to keep happening. That's fine. That is sport.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, like, this happens all the time with people in actual athletics, but like what isn't really excusable is how they build these like, take your time, identify who has real potential, train them, get them to where they need to be, and then use them on TV. Like, and if you're just testing them on TV, make them the jobbers, right? Like, make them just pop out, do little things. Don't give them whole ass characters. And like, unless they really botch it by that point, they should be off to the races. Like, if you're using them on TV, they should then have a pretty clear trajectory, because they should be capable of running with that. And then don't fire them when they're basically mid plot. Like,
there it is. Yes. This is the problem. This is the problem. It does come down to creative. It's not about running the show. It's not about running. It's not about the talent. It's not about the amount of talent. It is the lack of creative that goes into creating the talent and telling their stories. And they don't do it well.
Jake Atlas had all the stuff to do it. Like, they could have just used him at any moment. So it's weird to me that they're just firing some people. And again, especially like Tyler Rust, who is kind of the raison d'etre of the diamond mine in the first place. Like,
yeah, the diamond in the rust. That was it. That was the predecessor. I'm being asked about NXT Talent and if there would have been cuts like NXT USA. Two things. First of all, NXT Talent in the UK do not make nearly as much money as the US.
The whole thing feels cheap.
And there's another thing that a lot of people aren't thinking about. Speaking Out took out a bunch of those contracts. They silently released a bunch of people. And if they that alone freed up whatever they could have done. So no, there's no reason for them to clear out NXT UK. If anything, they're still going to add. They just added Tristan Archer a couple of weeks ago, who was another guy. You know, if anything, and Bea Priestley, that's right. Yeah. Her contract for sure. Nathan Frazier's was probably a pretty good one because they had to get him from AEW. AEW had also made offers. Yeah. Certain people are getting better deals with the UK, but it really depends on the talent. And we're stuck. Like, we don't know what the expectations are moving forward with releases. There will be more. We know this. That's sport. It's frustrating, yes, but also, I guess I'll ask you, like, is NXT really a success in its current iteration? I know that's a loaded question.
I think it just goes to show the difference between Control. Like, you have someone who is fresher to things, to this side of things, to the production side of things and creative direction, that created something that was much more interesting than the flagship products, just because I think the people in charge of those are stale or misdirected, like largely just misdirected, because they have a slew of talented writers who just can't seem to put anything worth a damn on screen. So
it feels to me like NXT, as the product it's supposed to be, a developmental territory, has not been a success.
No, because it's not, because there are people who didn't want to leave it after that, right? Like, it doesn't work as a developmental thing. But again, why would you put a developmental thing on TV anyway? Other than, I guess, to practice TV is what they have to do. But
when it was on the network, it was a lot freer.
Yeah.
It was a lot more open. It was like putting it on any other streaming platform. It had no restrictions. They tried to keep it to an hour or 45, whatever they were running it.
As it should be. That, like, if that's what it is, if it's to develop new talent, you put it on your network, you don't worry about advertisers, and you run it for an hour. Like,
from a business aspect, from a business standpoint, it makes money. I don't think it makes enough.
Yeah, that my concern with that is like looking at the ads that run, like that Nugenics garbage and like the same insurance ads that are on literally every wrestling program.
Oh, the
And
Car
then
Shield
one,
ones with Ric
yeah,
Flair?
yeah, exactly. Like these
with
are not
with LA Knight and Pretty
and
Peter Avalon, and now free agent Ric Flair, who's going to go to the NWA and win the 10 pounds of gold. One last title run, baby.
no, stay home. Old weirdo.
Yeah, that's what it is. I don't want to talk about the firing practices. Canyon Seaman is gone. He was the guy who was dealing with a lot of the contract stuff, or at least some of the talent relation stuff. And he's out because he messed up the Adam Cole situation for all intents and purposes. Nobody knew that he was going to be out on his ass, like that Adam Cole was finishing up a contract, and then Seaman was like, so he's gone. They just replaced him this week, and I think that's it for the cuts. Is there anything else that you really want to add about the cuts?
No, just again, like, I don't know. Why don't you just manage your shit better so you don't have to fire people? Like, don't just hire anyone and everyone because it turns into a mess. Like, it's just bad business management, and it's a waste of money and time. Like, every business prices the time spent on this. When you have to fire someone, you have wasted a lot of money and time. Like, it is not just that, like, the salary that gets written off. You invested a lot of money in someone, and that's all in the toilet now because it didn't do squat for you. Except now you've trained them up to go work for your competitors.
It's a good point. I want to talk about Goodwill in wrestling brands. Yeah, you gave me a look. So we have these releases. Morale in WWE is down. Morale amongst fans about WWE is mostly down, I would say. Would you agree with me?
Yeah, because Friday sucked, and it's the only other product that's worth watching right now. So, like, the NXT is gonna look nearly unrecognizable, and I'm just not gonna care anymore. Like,
I see cameos around this time of year. Meet and greets are going upwards of $800.
That's insane. Whatever. Spend your money on what you want, nerds. Or you could give it to me.
That's true. We do have a tip jar.
Yeah.
I just think that the conversation that a lot of people are needing to be having is about is about the goodwill that wrestling companies have with their fans and how it's built and how it lasts, but also how sometimes you need to wonder how to maintain it. We saw the releases. They all went. Everyone was pissed. Everyone who saw these names, these people get released, they hated it. I get it. No one wants to see people lose their jobs, especially people who are good, who are featured on TV and deserve the opportunities. We just went through it for the last 45 minutes. And then afterwards, I saw Chris Jericho. And Jericho tweeted something like, now more than ever, the AEW is the best place in the world to work.
Probably.
The thing is,
for now.
Right now, he may very well be right.
Yeah.
He is absolutely in the right line of thinking that when wrestlers go there, they tend to have better opportunities. But there's three things that I immediately think about. The first one is, how much are the tier contracts making? I want to know, because AEW runs on a tier deal. I want to know how much the appearances are. If you're on the bottom tier versus the contract is. And we're not going to be privy to that because that's not something anyone really talks about. So are they as good as people say? If they are, great, that's awesome. The other thing is, it's inevitable that at one point you're going to face scrutiny as a company. Yeah, and that is bottom line. Outside of wrestling, inside of wrestling, doesn't matter.
Yeah, billionaires aren't your friends.
That's right. So my question to you is, does a tweet like that from Chris Jericho or from others, after we see a whole bunch of releases go down, Does that hurt? Does it hinder? Does it have no effect on the goodwill that AEW creates? Does it maybe light a fire under others? What do you think when you see stuff like that right away, right after these releases are announced?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that's the right thing for Jericho to do. Like, I think that's the right thing for everyone to be doing, to position themselves as the more ethical alternative, as the better alternative. And like, you know, may or may not be true because again, it's still a company, like it's still a business, and at the end of the day, they're in it to make money, and there's still like things that are cringy or make you uncomfortable because it's business in wrestling. Um, but like right now, I'm much more interested in what AEW is doing, and week to week, I wonder like, oh, what's going to happen next week on AEW's programs? Like they keep setting up stuff like that week after week, whereas SmackDown, I'm literally going to get a remix of the same show now because the one good thing they had going was Roman Reigns, and now it's in a holding pattern where I get to see Paul Heyman shout what to fill time. Like, so
Yeah, I agree. And again, that's it's very frustrating when the best part about WWE is not moving forward. Actually, the best thing I would argue, the best thing this week on SmackDown was the Edge and Seth segment.
yep, it was.
That was the most entertaining.
It was the most part of it. Yeah. And the Street Profits being back to have a match they've had 18 million times already.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't. Everyone was so happy to see the Street Profits until it was that match, and of course that was when the releases dropped and everyone was done.
Yeah. Like I don't know. At this point, I want to watch him fight because it's funnier to me. Like what I don't know. At least do something with your billions of dollars to amuse me.
My hope is that with stuff like that, when Jericho would tweet something like that, is that they're mindful that this stuff can come back and bite them in the ass.
You got to live off it. Like, don't you put it out in the world? You better live it as well.
Yes.
And I don't know that they're going to be able to do that forever because they're, still anti-union, etc. So
there will come a time, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, this anti AEW guy. It's not me. That's
no,
really
at this
not
point,
me.
I prefer AEW because they've just
fair.
been making the better wrestling lately. And with
So
the death of NXT, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how deadly. I don't really call it the death of NXT.
If they go to focusing on 7-foot weirdos, I will rapidly lose interest because I did not like anything about the Great Khali, and I literally stopped watching wrestling.
That's fair. I get it.
It was bad.
I get it. Yeah, I'm not. I try to be pretty even keel with the AEW and the WWE stuff, and I think everyone gets that.
Well,
the
you have an uphill battle because I'm an AEW stan now.
Fine, I know you messaged me in the middle of a show, of an Impact show, because I'm also an Impact show. Well, not anymore. I took this Thursday off. It was beautiful. Had a wonderful night. Anyway, the point is, I want to see the success in wrestling. I do. Yep. I think about it. Think about GCW. GCW has built such a stupid amount of goodwill through their shows, through the way they treat their audience, through the community that they've built, all through silly shit like deathmatch. And that's not silly shit. I like deathmatch wrestling. I do. Yeah. Like, it's not for everyone, but like I don't love it, but like I'll watch it.
Yeah, that was the last match we saw was a deathmatch live.
It's there's like Ring of Honor has even built goodwill, but you build this goodwill because eventually you're gonna have to stash it for a rainy day because guess what, something's gonna happen.
Look, man, the WWE's done grosser shit.
That's the thing.
Like if this is what does it for you, you're forgetting a lot of very vile things that they are responsible for mishandling. So
this is the thing.
Everyone is scum. Welcome to capitalism.
So let me tell you, this is why I'm going here. Chelsea Green, who was recently released, love her or hate her, I don't care. I got to a point where like I was over her. I was sick of her. But now I actually get it. I get it with her. And I appreciate Chelsea Green. I actually really like her now. Do I think, again, I think I've said this before. Do I think she's like the smartest, most incredible woman that I'll ever meet? No.
Again, you shouldn't ever think that of any wrestler.
Definitely not wrestler. But do I think that she is keeping her name relevant throughout all of this? 100%.
Yeah, she's done a great job.
WWE had a trademark on her name.
Okay, Chelsea Green.
And on Chelsea Green, on her God-given name, on her actual shoot name, her birth-given name. And earlier tonight, we found out that they actually dropped that trademark dispute.
Yeah,
WWE
I saw that
dropped it.
she tweeted like, I can't believe I'm going to have a legal, but I think they would have lost that anyway. Like, I don't think you can defend someone's legal name. I don't think it would have worked. I really don't.
No, you can't. But at the same time, when you sign on that dotted line and you're giving away the rights, it also comes with the agreement that your name is going to be used, that your contract is going to go for the amount of time that you're signed for, and that you're not going to be, if you are released, therefore the terms of the deal should also go with it. So for them to not release the trademark initially made zero sense.
Yeah.
This is the goodwill I'm talking about. It's the optics, because she is one person and they are one machine. And if you put the one person, as frustrating as she is sometimes, as much as people don't love her, it looks real bad to say, I can't have my name that is on my birth certificate because my former employer, the Juggernaut, will not release a trademark.
Yeah, I mean, that's an easy decision. Like, oh, we're gonna lose out on those millions of Chelsea Green bucks. Like, because in case we want to bring her back or use that name for something else, they don't want to do either of those things. They have a whole lot of work to do in apparently redesigning an entire brand. So, like, not the most important pressing thing right now, fighting for the name Chelsea Green.
Wrestlers have learned over the years to trademark their names, to own them themselves, and to license them out to the people that sign them. AJ Styles did it. Samoa Joe has done it. Adam Cole does it. Other wrestlers who have done it. That's a smart thing to do.
That's the thing. If you created a character outside of WWE and you hand over your IP, you haven't been doing the research. Like, you haven't been paying attention to your own industry before going into this negotiation, nor have you been talking to a lawyer. Like,
And I'm seeing the chat talking about Chelsea, like talking about all of the ideas she had. That's the conversation that I'm having right now, is that she keeps her name relevant by doing stuff like this, where she's like, I want to be the Lily doll, and then I win the women's championship. That's going to both enrage you and get you talking.
It doesn't matter. Notoriety is
you.
What she needs right now. Yeah, like, it doesn't matter what you feel about her. She doesn't care. I don't care. Like, I don't care about your opinions on Chelsea Green. Like,
she told the world that she wanted to pose for Playboy, and everyone was like, yeah! And then she said, I also want to be the Lily doll and win the Raw Women's Championship. And everyone was like, no!
Yeah, welcome to whatever. Internet, baby.
Exactly. And so, and again, like, Impact had the same thing. They had the Hardys. Remember when the Hardys moved over from Impact to WWE? That was a whole thing with the broken mat and the universe. And next thing you know, Impact was like, no, forget it. It's not worth it. It burns your goodwill.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, you want to talk about the TV or get your shit off? Go.
Okay. What was it? SmackDown. SmackDown was boring.
Chat, was SmackDown boring? Or were you all taken out with us with the releases too?
Like, I don't know, man. Like, Nakamura is doing the same dumb, boring crap every week. I don't care. Apollo Crews came out. That sucked. It ended in a DQ. Whoop-de-doo. Literally, we're just recycling the exact same plot. Just plop out like Big E Nakamura, except there's Boogs. Literally doing the same thing every single week for almost 3 months now.
He has a new guitar.
I don't care. What else? Again, I said Street Profits being back is excellent. Loved that. Bianca's AR graphic still creeps me out because it's like a little Shop of Horrors monster.
With the braid. It has a braid too.
I know. It's a weird mouth body with a tail. But it's just like, again, it's Sasha and Bianca, a match that already happened with the same plot, fortunately without Reggie this time, but like, it's not enticing to me. Zelina is just there to be punished some more. Like, she needed to win. She needed to win that match, and they made her lose it again. And now, like, what? They're going to keep having her step out and be like, I'm next, and then keep losing. So it doesn't make a damn bit of sense. Like, that's, Evan's mentioning, like, she wanted a title shot, and she is 0-3 in the recent past. It makes no sense, and it's boring. Like,
and they're still playing off like, oh, Zelina was on vacation. It's like, yeah, you fired her, and again, Goodwill.
And now you're punishing her for expressing her opinions about unionization, which were quickly, like, they had a potential to do a really cool spot when Sasha popped up on the ramp and Bianca had Zelina in her arms. If she sprinted up the ramp with Zelina and chucked her at Sasha, that could have been excellent, but they didn't because they're cowards. Again, I mentioned Paul Heyman, who is normally excellent, just shouting what to fill up a full minute. And then, like, everyone berates Kayla. That was 2 segments. Big E with the briefcase is just going to show up and laugh like a deluded psychopath, which I can't tell if I enjoy or not. That. Yeah, I'm on the fence. I really can't decide because it went on for an uncomfortable amount of time, and I don't know what it means. Like, what he's just threatening everyone. Maybe if he does it to literally every title holder. Make it a gimmick until you can actually use him in the title picture.
That's awful, and I love it. He should go up to Otis and do it, and Otis will just be like, I don't have a title, and he'll be like, I don't care. And he just smiles and laughs at him for a good 30 minutes.
Tegan Knox wrestled.
Hey, she pinned my girl, man. I was upset.
They shot a rocket at her, but they can't do any of that well either. And it's just like, why are they bad? Are they the baddies? Is that what their characters are? Who's the face? Like,
they don't know. They don't know.
And that's the thing. You can. They don't know anything. The entire show is just, I don't know, put something out there. Like, they more Usos, Mysterios, which was just like, I don't need your help, Dad. I was like, I don't care about either of you. Like, it was just nothing. It was just a big nothing of a show. The only good bit was Edge and Seth Rollins, which was well done because it called back to all the stuff that we were talking about. And then he's like, keep my child's name out of your mouth.
Wish.com Seth Rollins. Wish.com Edge.
Yeah. Oh, man. Very funny. The main event was Corbin, who can't afford music to walk out to now as a shtick. Like,
come on. You've got to give down-ass Baron Corbin.
And it's great, but it's not going anywhere. There's no plan for it. They should have progressed his story this week, but nothing happened. Like, he got his ass whooped by Finn Balor, and then they did a post-match segment where, okay, we'll get Finn Balor and Roman Reigns after John Cena and Roman Reigns, I guess, which is like, cool. Thanks for setting it up because John Cena can't be here. So you're going to tell the story that is going to happen a month from now. Like,
Cena, who was advertised for the building, had a dark match after the show.
He was in the building.
And they didn't even bring him out for a minute. They didn't even do a backstager. They did nothing with John Cena. Why is that a thing? Why is that a choice that was made?
I don't, and that's the thing. Like, I'm just going to see a different configuration next week of the same show. And you're going to see John Cena come out and cut a similar promo to the other 2 that he's done, but it's not, like, we're not advancing the story. We're just remixing the 1 week of content that we have. That's it. That's all they do. And it's getting a bit tiresome. Like,
I'm wondering where, and I see it in the chat, where Tony Storm is.
Yeah, like, you have all this talent.
Where Mia Yim is, they haven't brought her back.
They had Pat McAfee gushing about how robust the tag team division was, which is just like, don't call attention to your flaws by saying they're not flaws. That's insane. Like, that's a bad move.
And then they have Liv Morgan.
Oh yeah, forgot about her. Who
had the biggest build-up to Money in the Bank, and again, like we said, and like I said a billion times in other shows, including ours, that she wasn't going to win, but they better have something planned because people are ready for Liv to do something.
Well, she didn't do anything.
2 weeks later, they're still without anything for Liv on TV. This goes back to that stupid network doc about Liv Morgan that was a self-own on creative.
Yeah.
where they didn't do shit with her and they kept telling her no, and then they kept pushing back her debut and her returns. It's the same thing again. She's not getting pushed. She was getting pushed, and then she didn't get pushed. And I'm not going to tell you that the Bayley injury messed things up, but I will tell you that it certainly it put a damper on plans for Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
Where it shouldn't. But because Vince had nothing in his brain other than we need to replenish the women's division when Bayley went down, that's what happened.
Yep. Oh,
and I do wonder if the Liv and Zelina commentary thing, I wonder if that turned Vince off to a certain point.
Good. Then we're in a,
where he was like,
I agree with Vince on that if that is what went through his mind, because all of that made me dislike both of them more.
Yeah, that segment was ass. Plain and simple.
Dynamite was good. Like,
yes, let's talk about Dynamite.
Really enjoyed it. Yeah. You know, highs and lows, but like, again, I'm curious what's going to happen next week for some stuff.
I like watching my nostalgia. My nostalgia is a lot like those really bad dreams that I have where I'm underwater and I can't move fast. That was like watching that opening segment with Jericho and Hoopy.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, top rope Judas effect. We got it.
Hey, did we go? Because I said yes. It was going to be very lazy and sloppy. It looked pretty good. I'll give him his due. He did a good job with that weird spinning back elbow.
He jumped, he turned around, and he hit whatever, man.
He was on target, man. I expected him to hit somewhere near like the edge of a shoulder. So it was good. Looked good. Good stuff. Good for Jericho. Wardlow is the labor number 4. I also appreciate it not being some big crazy shit every time.
So tell me, how did you feel about labor number 4 being Wardlow and not a Bill, like someone like a Lance Storm or another nostalgia act?
We started with Sean Spears, right? So it was like, okay, yes. That's one. And then we did a couple of crazy ones, which is fine. Wardlow was a surprise. What I think was bungled a bit was announcing that MJF is the guest referee.
No.
Like,
this was a JR screw up.
Jesus Christ. That's what I thought. I knew it in my bones. He was like, how do you write that? He loses. There's no way. Yeah. Like, unless he grabs MJF's unconscious arm and slaps 3, which is not even gonna, like, that doesn't work at all. And they're better than that normally. Like, okay, so that's JR screwing the hell up again. Like,
MJF is the ringside, what's the word? Enforcer, the guest enforcer.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So anyway, whatever, JR screwed up. So that's a bummer, but like, I don't mind it being Wardlow because he's the biggest, scariest guy in their stable, right? Like,
I think Wardlow wins.
Yeah, that would be great. I think that would be really cool. Like,
you have a month until All Out. If you want to do the match with MJF and Jericho at All Out, you can still have MJF stick Jericho. And then Jericho forces MJF to accept the match by doing something that completely
crazy
makes him do it. Yeah.
Like that. Yeah. That, like, and AEW
burn his scarf. Burn
all of his scarves. Go find a closet full of Burberry scarves and set them on fire.
Go to a Burberry factory in his hometown.
You won't be able to order these for months. Like,
they'll be on back order until you're an old retired hack.
Like, I honestly, and like that Jericho and Juventud match was good. Like, I actually enjoyed it. I didn't mind it at all. I thought it was a fun time.
It was fine. It was fine. It wasn't
forcing old man Jericho onto the top ropes was a good shtick. Like, I'm fine that they could kind of poke fun in that. The Hangman Elite segment was solid. Like, I really enjoyed the build for this. Like, they're still harassing him. Having Evil Uno and Grayson like hold back the rest of the Dark Order, being like, no, he wanted this. Let him get his ass kicked.
There are little things. There are little things in the story.
Still can't do the BTE triggers for shit, but like, it's fine.
There are little things in the story that I like.
Yeah.
I like that the Elite are calling him Hangman. Mm-hmm. I like that the Dark Order call him Adam. Mm-hmm. I like that the youngest members of the Dark Order are the ones trying to get involved, and the older ones, the leaders, quote unquote, are the ones holding them back and saying, nope, he's got to understand. But they're not going to give up on him. I like that story. Yeah. I like the idea that the Elite they only care about Hangman when Hangman is doing well. Mm-hmm. When he's on the decline, they don't give a shit. It's a story. It's a very easy story to tell, and they're finding little ways to make it more entertaining for us.
Yeah, I really like it, and that's the thing. I want to see what happens every week with that, no matter how how small of a segment it is. I'm excited. 2.0, like we saw Daniel Garcia wrestle on Dynamite and say some words. He said words.
Yeah, and he's got a match now.
He had a match with Moxley and Darby and Eddie, and Darby was amazing in it. Like, I'm slowly becoming more and more of a Darby fan. Like, he did good stuff. It's been a good time. And Sting's great. Just like, it's so crazy to me that they can balance the use of a legend so well. Just like,
yes.
Where has this been for so long with WWE? Like,
well, no, WWE doesn't want to utilize their legends this way. They want to put their legends in main event matches for the titles. They want to put 54-year-old Goldberg out there with Sunberg, and we talked about it already on the last show. But with Sting and with Jake Roberts, I said this on the Twitch distraction post show, and so I'll say it again. In wrestling, the idea is you leave the business better than you found it. And wrestlers live that feeling. They believe that. And they want to give back. And AEW, Tony Khan, whoever it is letting those wrestlers, those Stings, those Jake Roberts, those people, they're letting them come in and do exactly that. Can they wrestle once in a while? Absolutely. But they're not going to wrestle on top. Unless Christian Cage is a little different. He's still young. He's still able to go. But with guys like Sting, he can still go.
Well, I think the main thing is that with Christian, like, he really wants to keep going. Like, he wanted to come back to wrestle, so like that's fine.
With Sting, with Jake, with who am I thinking of? There was another one, like even with like Mark Henry and Big Show, where Paul White. It's the same thing. Everyone thought Mark and Paul were going to come in and immediately wrestle on top. LOL, AEW is going to turn into WWE cast-offs. That's not what they're doing.
Yeah,
they're letting Mark Henry and Paul do shows. I'm not big on a 4-man.
The Rampage announced team sounds like a nightmare. That's one thing I'm down on. No. 3 I've been complaining about. Now you've made it 4. 2 of those people never shut up, so I don't know how you're going to be able, like... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I know, again, I missed Mark Henry's actual run because... in all of the wrestling that I watched leading up to when I stopped entirely, Mark Henry was the guy who they kept for whatever reason wanting to make happen, but he couldn't talk on the mic, so it never happened. But then it happened after I stopped watching. So I guess he can speak now, but I don't know.
He's good. He is entertaining. Okay.
I'll trust you with that because he seemed so afraid on the microphone the entire time. But
we'll see what Rampage really looks like. If it's actually a 4-man booth, that's going to suck. I'm seeing... Yeah. Tony said on Busted Open that Mark's going to do interviews and not commentary. Sure, if that's the case, great. I still don't like having CJ on my commentary because he just yells and screams at me for a good hour.
Yeah, he's exhausting. But I like Taz. It's just he can dominate the conversation when he's in character, which...
Yeah, he talks.
I don't think he'll be as bad. I think when he's doing the Rampage stuff, it's not going to be Team Taz shit. It's going to be him as a commentator again, which, I know that he's capable of doing. I think him and Excalibur would be fine. Mark Henry doing interviews, they wasn't positioned that way. They actually talked about Shivani like continuing to work and he said, I might hold a microphone or 3. Like,
I think they're still trying to figure out some of the odds and sods with Rampage, and that's fine. Yeah, the show literally starts this week, and it's going to undergo some changes. I want to see... Week 1 is going to be growing pains. That's why they're not putting out like the biggest show they can. It's the next week. It's the next week when they literally turn on the lights, and it's CM Punk, and they're going to run it like Saturday night's main event, where it used to be Hogan comes out first, and they do that. It's going to be Punk out first.
Yeah, like
that's how the show has to go.
I think there's so much potential. The addition of the second show with the depth of their roster, like if they can continue to tell the stories they've been telling, I think they're in a really, really good position. Like, and there's sleeper stuff. There's Cage versus The Blade, which like I didn't mind as a match, but like Christian Cage is #1 contender. It's just like, we got to do this because we got to do the Christian heel turn, so he's gonna lose this, and we got to buy time until we can get to the eventual Hangman Kenny match. So fine, whatever.
Oh, Hangman and Kenny.
Like, and there was other stuff like Red Velvet's the #1 contender now for the women's title, which makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm not the hugest fan of her, like, but she's improving a little bit. The promo itself was fine. She stirs it up. It's fine. It's fine. Like, Britt Baker needs competition. You just move it along.
And they're doing it in the right place because they want to have a good match. Listen, this goes back to the whole there's Dark, there's Elevation, and then there's Dynamite, and we're not all keeping track of what happens on Dark and Elevation. Some people are. That's great. Some people want to put their time into that. That's amazing. I know I'm not. So I need more of that. Like, so-and-so has been on a run of winning all these matches on Dark and Elevation. You and I joked about it with Hangman. He fell out of the top 5. How do you get him back? You literally put him on Dark and Elevation for weeks, and he keeps racking up wins, and suddenly he's in first.
Yeah. They had a lot of packages on this show, and a lot of backstagers. Like, we had the Lucha Brothers Chavo one, or Andrade Chavo and the Lucha Brothers, which was fine. They're trying to really push Andrade as a douchebag. So how do you do that? You make him an elitist prick who hires a guy, chucks him against a wall, and makes you shine his shoes.
Every week, we come back and we say this. Why does Andrade still think that Pac employs the Lucha Brothers?
I think the gag is that Andrade's kind of dumb. Like, I think that's part of this character. I think he thinks that he's such hot shit, but he's kind of a dumbass, which is not a bad character. That's fun, and that you have potential to do mid and up and like higher card work with that, right? You can go back and forth, which if that's what he's actually doing, and hopefully I'm not just misreading the situation, but.
Yeah, I mean, there is that. There's also the idea that maybe he just buys all of his friends.
Yeah, exactly. Like this guy who doesn't understand, and he thinks that every personal relationship is because there are people like that out there, and they're the worst. Like you want to get them.
Holy shit! I just got it. They're gonna move this over. It's not. It's gonna be Andrade. They're gonna move this whole thing away from Death Triangle, and it's gonna become Andrade